Say it.
I'm Spider from Guardian Sect.
Spider, thanks for joining us at Revolution in Beer at revolutioninbeer.com and Revolution in Beer on Facebook. This will be up later. We're at Wabash and Monroe, out in front of the Palmer House Hotel. What are you doing
where
here?
Alec is meeting for their 40th time, their 40th anniversary, and they decide the worst place in the world to come, a working class city, Chicago.
40th anniversary, and I didn't get them anything. I feel bad.
Well, they don't get anything for us, so fuck them.
I think they do a lot to us.
They cause a lot of problems, including fracking, GMOs, trying to cut the minimum wage.
And there was a report earlier today about how groups that are involved with Alec and the Koch brothers are also doing are also basically price fixing. It's alleged where they're driving up the price of commodities by warehousing them and moving them from warehouse to warehouse to warehouse in order to drive the price up of things like aluminum. Like
that's because all Alec cares about is making money. They don't care if they cost the working class or the poor people their lives. And Alec has caused I personally am out of a job. I'm not exactly the richest person in the world, but as a working class citizen of Chicago, I feel that Alec should not be here. Haymarket riots, working class stood up for themselves. Chicago is founded upon working class standing up for themselves.
So where is Chicago in this issue?
Chicago they're trying to come into Chicago to break the unions because Chicago has some of the strongest unions in the world. Look at CTU. CTU can get hundreds of thousands of people when CPS tried cutting people. Chicago is a working class city. It is a union run city, and Alec's afraid of that. Alec knows that unions are going to eventually break them.
That's regardless of who the mayor is, too. Doesn't necessarily mean that the city government.
That was happening under Daley. This has been going on for 40 years. We've gone through several mayors.
I think we encountered a big turning point in the 70s, though, as income inequality started to expand between the classes, and we noticed that CEO pay was going up higher and higher and higher and higher, and
while working class wages were going down.
And essentially, worker productivity has doubled, and the minimum wage has shrunk as a result of it.
Let me ask you guys, because at Revolution in Beer we talk about the power of one person. We also talk about the power of people getting together, and we've seen in Turkey. I'm gonna back out here a little bit so I can get as many of you guys as possible. But we saw mass protests in Turkey. We saw mass protests in Egypt that brought down a corrupt government. We saw 1 million people come out in the streets in Brazil over bus fare. What gets people out on the streets in Chicago against this? What do you think it takes?
The problem is the mainstream media has everyone corrupt, mind controlled, and they've been doing it forever. They don't want the people to stand up against their corrupt ways. They know once the people start waking up and start breaking out of their shells, they're going to lose. I mean, they see it in Egypt, in Turkey, in all them places.
Alternative media then is the key.
Yes.
And
so
look at the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers came in and they pretty much told PBS that they couldn't air a show or like a documentary on their own operations because they had donated enough money to PBS to essentially guide their agenda. And as a result, media doesn't get out what it should be getting out, which is ultimately what journalism was invented upon, which was to call out the people who are causing the most problems in society to sell. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. It's how competition works.
So if you could steer people to one source, one alternative media source, non-corporate media source, where would you steer them where they could learn about these issues or get involved?
I mean, there are a lot of issue-based news sources that you can just look up on your own. Like I'm involved in the environmental movement, so I know like EcoWatch and like updates from like Earth First about
Okay.
issues like this, or you can go to the International Socialist Worker or socialistworker.org, democracynow.org.
Excellent.
There's talks on democracynow.org all about many of the things that are oppressing the American people today.
Excellent.
And also the Socialist Worker, International Socialist Worker, or socialistworker.org. They have daily updates from the news of people working to activate against things like ALEC and fracking and
I'm going to roll through.
union busting every day.
Thank you. I'm going to roll through. Give me one good source so we can steer people to alternative media. Where do you get your information? What's your prime source of information?
I really like RT.com.
Okay.
It's an alternative news source. They have a lot of activists that come on and talk there, as well as like Democracy Now! It's just really good.
Excellent.
Anonymous News Network, we currently don't have a website, but
you're everywhere.
within the
That's
next month or two, we will have a website up for
Brilliant.
media, for real media
right.
that's out there.
And Revolution and Beer will be connected to that, I guarantee you.
I'd say Adam Kokesh at Adam versus the Man. He does quite a lot of informative stuff that I would have never found out.
I've got a lot to talk to you about here in just a moment, but thanks guys, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Nice